Welcome everybody to the Conspiracies and Mysteries segment of my channel. On this video we'll be talking about two of the most popular and my personal favorite to look into cases of the missing 411 phenomena. For some context, the missing 411 is a highly looked into phenomena that has been going on for decades now, of people disappearing in a very abnormal and even paranormal ways, specifically in the national parks of the United States. These two cases I chose because I think they are the most disturbing and or full with more evidence that have been researched more. They've got a little bit more of a following as well. And we'll be looking into the Dennis Martin disappearance and the enigmatic robotic grandma case, with all names redacted and specific dates. Hope you guys enjoy. The disappearance of Dennis Martin. Dennis Lloyd Martin was born on June 20th, 1962. He was an American child who disappeared on June 14th, 1969 in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park in Tennessee at the age of 6 days before his 7th birthday. The search effort was the most extensive in the park's history, involving approximately 1,400 searchers and a 56 square mile area. The disappearance of Dennis Martin, a 6-year-old resident of Knoxville, was visiting the Great Smoky Mountains National Park along with his father, grandfather, and older brother on Father's Day weekend in 1969. The camping trip was a family tradition of the Martins. The family hiked from Cades Cove to Russell Field and camped overnight. The next day, they hiked to Spence Field near the Appalachian Trail, where they planned to spend the night. Martin disappeared on June 14th at approximately 4:30 while planning on surprising the adults with his brother and other children from a separate family the Martins were camping with. He was last seen by his father going behind a bush to hide, intending on surprising the adults with the other children. After not seeing him for about 5 minutes, and when all the other children had returned to the campsite, his father became concerned and began searching for him. His father ran down the trail for nearly 2 miles until he was sure he could not have gotten any farther. After several hours, they sought help from the National Park Service rangers. The area where Martin disappeared is marked with steep slopes and ravines. Wild animals such as copperhead snakes, bears, feral hogs, and bobcats inhabit the area. A downpour broke out shortly after Martin's disappearance, dropping 3 inches of rain in a matter of hours, which washed out trails and caused streams to flood. Temperatures on the night of June 14th dropped nearly to 50 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 degrees Celsius. The investigation. Search efforts, including a separate search by the National Guard and Green Berets, found no trace. Heavy rains during the first day's search and heavy mist the next days hampered efforts. Up to 1,400 people were involved in the search efforts, potentially obscuring possible clues. Footprints were found in the area but were dismissed from the possibility of being Martin's by park officials, who determined them to have been left instead by a Boy Scout participating in the search. The child-sized footprints led to a stream where they disappeared. The tracks indicated that one foot was barefoot while the other was in an Oxford, the type of shoe Martin was wearing, or a tennis shoe. Retired park ranger and author Dwight MacArthur believes the prints were likely belonged to Martin, as the tracks were not part of a group and none of the Boy Scouts were searching while barefoot. By June 22nd, 56 square miles of ground had been covered. More than 1,000 searchers continued to look until June 26, when the search was cut back. The search was abandoned on June 29th after a last search. The search was officially closed down on September 14, 1969. As of 2022, it is still the largest search in the history of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. The aftermath. Dennis' father offered a US $5,000 reward, equivalent to $41,543 in 2023. As of 2023, reward for information. A few years after, a ginseng hunter claimed to have discovered the scattered skeletal remains of a small child in Big Hollow, Tremont. He kept the find to himself until 1985 because of fear that he would be prosecuted for illegal ginseng A subsequent search turned up nothing. The immense size of the search party was blamed as one of the reasons for its failure. The participants were said to be too numerous to manage and often too inexperienced. The unsuccessful search for Martin led the National Park Service to review and amend its policies on searches for missing people. Theories. Three main theories exist about what happened to Martin. The first is he became lost and perished from exposure or some other cause, likely not long after the first night. This is the most probable theory according to park officials. The second is that he was attacked by a hungry bear or less likely a feral pig and carried off. The third is that he was abducted and taken out of the park by something or someone. His father was a proponent of the third theory. On the afternoon that Martin disappeared, terrorist Harold Key and his family heard an enormous sickening scream, and shortly thereafter witnessed an unkempt, shaggy, rough-looking man running up the trail near where the scream had come from. Key also claimed the shaggy man was carrying cloth or clothing over his shoulder. Harold Key claims his sighting happened roughly an hour after the disappearance of Dennis Martin and mere 5 miles from the incident. Park rangers and the Federal Bureau of Investigation concluded that there was insufficient evidence to link the sighting to Martin's disappearance, particularly given that Key's sighting was approximately 5 miles away from where Martin disappeared and closer to 7 or 9 miles by trails, and the difficulty of traversing such a distance in the amount of time between when Martin disappeared and the time that Key provided for when the incident occurred. The abduction theory was featured on the Hulu series Out There, Crimes of the Paranormal episode titled Smoky Mountain Nightmare. The episode aired on September 24th, 2024. So this second case is simply known as the robotic grandma case. I will start off by stating that the names and some of the dates surrounding this disappearance have been changed in order to protect the identity of the family. It did, however, occur in the year 2010. The location of this incident was near Mount Shasta, California. The age of the child who went missing was around 3 years old at the time. We will refer to him as John Doe. John Doe was camping with his family on the banks of a large creek. At approximately 6 p.m., John disappeared. The parents searched for their son for a number of hours before contacting the local sheriff and United States Forest Service. Approximately 5 hours after John went missing, he was found lying in a thicket directly next to a trail the searchers had been using. I want to interject here and say that in most of these cases, the people who go missing are never found or are found dead, so they never get a chance to tell anyone what actually happened to them. Well, David Paulides, the creator of the Missing 401 books, the writer, and then the producer and director of the Missing 401 documentaries, which I highly recommend you check out. They go deeply into the more disturbing side of these disappearances inside the national parks of the United States. Goes on to state that the parents of John Doe contacted him after hearing about his investigation into these disappearances with a bizarre story. About 3 weeks after the incident, John Doe's grandmother says her grandson told her he didn't like his other grandma, Cappy. Cappy is the boy's name for Grandma Kathy. When she asked to explain further, he said, "Don't you remember when I was lost in the woods? The other grandma, Cappy, grabbed me and took me to a creepy place. She's really a robot. It was a cave with spiders and there was purses and guns. I was too scared, so I didn't touch anything. But when she climbed the ladder, the light made her look like a robot. There were other robots there too, but they didn't move. She made me lay down to look at my tummy, and then she tried to get me to poop on a sticky paper, but I couldn't go. She told me that I am from outer space, and they put me in my mom's tummy. She then took me back to the river and said to wait under the bush until someone found me." She also states that her grandson said she had your same hair, your feet, even your face. That scared her deeply, the idea of some kind of doppelganger taking on her own image to abduct her grandson. She says she got the impression that her grandson may have been talking about a hologram because of the way he described the light sparkling on the strange woman. His grandmother was horrified and called her son the boy's father, who told her that he had also heard the same story from the boy a few days before. She admitted that she would have probably written off her grandson's story to a child's or reactive imagination if it wasn't for a strange experience that happened to her a year ago when she was camping in the same area near Fowler's campground in McLeod, California. She claims she woke up one morning face down in the dirt, having been removed from her tent and sleeping bag, and had a puncture wound on the back of her head. She says she felt violently ill that morning and felt strangely emotionless. So she thought she'd been bitten by a poisonous spider. She said she was with her friend who had been sleeping in his separate camper, and he also woke up with a bite on the back of his neck. He felt ill as well. The only strange thing she could recall was seeing red eyes shining through the trees and their flashlights the night before, which they thought were deer. I will add to this case that this specific case is highly debated among fans of the Missing 411 and people who like to look into these cases because of the high secrecy of the case. We don't know any names, any actual specific dates other than the actual year that it happened. And so a lot of people have doubted this recollection. Now, a lot of people will state that since David himself has spoken to this family and he himself is a credible witness and credible resource, they believe that it is a true case, that it is something that really did happen. And I myself would like to believe that it's real. I just, at the same time, I am a bit skeptical because I would love to be able to see some more information, some more evidence towards this, and perhaps even talk to the kid who at this point would probably already be at least 18. If he was 3 at the time, it's been 14 years since then, so yeah, he would be at least 17 or 18, and would be able to go into more detail as to what he really remembers now, having grown up, and what he can recollect from over the years. In the end, I would like to leave it up to you as the viewer as to what you believe as far as these cases are concerned. Do you believe that this all really truly happened? Do you think it's some type of hysteria, or maybe the victims or the victims' families are making these cases up? If you'd like to see more information or just get some more background or backstory on both of these cases and more, I would suggest you check out the documentary by David Pilates called The Missing 411. He has, I think, released a sequel to it as well called The Missing 411 The UFO Connection, because I didn't touch upon it as much on this video, but I might on a future video. There is a big UFO connection with a lot of these cases, including these two. Background information and background evidence to suggest that there was some type of UFO activity going on there, and even the Dennis Martin disappearance. But specifically with the robotic grandma one, I mean, part of the story that the kid reveals to his grandma is that he was told he came from space. So there is a huge UFO connection with a lot of these cases, and that's kind of what David Pilates was leading to with both of these documentaries and all the research he has been doing on the Missing 411, because of the few people who have returned from these disappearances or who have survived this ordeal. There's always some type of either alien or UFO connection in the story. Whether or not it's real or fake is up to you as the viewer. But I suggest you check them out, and they're both on Amazon, either for rent or for buying. Other than that, let me know what you think in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like and a comment, and subscribe. The more subscribers I get, the more motivation I'll get to keep making these type of videos, and it'll show me that you guys are actually enjoying this content. So please, thank you.